Yo, what's up, everybody? This is Aslan Williams back with another episode. I think it's episode 7. Yeah, episode 7 of Spell Basketball. How's everybody doing? Sorry, I know it's been a little bit of a minute. It's been taking care of some things, but we're back. It's going to be more consistent for sure. And so, the last time we talked, we were talking about the Denver Nuggets. Okay. Denver Nuggets, 2022-2023 NBA champions. Yeah. All right. Anyways, I'm still excited about that. So, but with this episode, we're going to go over the recent NBA draft. I'll go over the top 5 picks. I'll also talk about a couple picks that I thought were some skills that could help some teams out in this upcoming season. The summer league starts July 7th. It's going to be July 7th through the 11th, I believe. So really looking forward to that. Also, I'm going to talk a little bit about some trades that have happened. There's been kind of a busy world in the trade industry coming to the NBA recently since the end of the season. And then also, I'm going to talk about some free agents and, some potential places that they can go, what might be a good fit for them. And that's what we're going to talk about today. All right, so let's start with the NBA draft first. We had Victor Wembanyama. I hope I said that correctly. Victor Wembanyama. Go number 1 with the Spurs. Now, Victor Wembanyama he did very well over in France. And I believe he was averaging like 21-9 over there this past season. But okay, let me just give you the rundown for those of you all who don't know. So, Wemby, as they call him, is 7'5" with the skill set of a guard. Okay, so some of the highlights I've seen with Victor Wembanyama have been 1-foot pull-up threes, step backs. I mean, he's long, so you can't really guard him, but there's just his skill set is just amazing. Okay, so I'm very interested in seeing how this turns out. I mean, he's 7'5", he weighs 227 pounds, so I do think he does need to get a little bit bigger. But, I mean, it's interesting to see what's about to happen with this. So, all right, at number 2, we have Brandon Miller out of Alabama go to the Charlotte Hornets. Brandon Miller is kind of like an energetic 3-and-D player. He could definitely shoot the 3. He did very well for Alabama this year. And so I think he could potentially, bring something off the wing for Charlotte, paired with, LaMelo, not Lonzo. I miss Lonzo. Come back, Lonzo. The Bulls need you. But with LaMelo Ball and that kind of, we'll talk about a couple of the other pieces that are free agents this season for the Charlotte Hornets. But I think he'd be a decent wing player. At number 3, we have Scoot Henderson out of Marietta, Georgia. He played in the G League last year. And Scoot is an interesting player. So a lot of comparisons that he has received have been Russell Westbrook. Very athletic, very energetic as well. And so I think, granted, we'll see what happens with Dame. I think Dame is going to stay. Dame has remained loyal to the Blazers no matter how much we all have felt like he needs to leave. But I think that would be an interesting energizer next to Dame coming out that backcourt. And then at 4 and 5, we have the twins, Amen and Ashur Thompson. They are very, very, what's the word I'm looking for? They can get the job done. I'll say that. They seem very mild-mannered, but they can hoop. They're athletic. They can play D. I think Ashur Thompson is the better defender. But Amen Thompson is very good. They're both very good players, both out of Oakland, California. They also played in a professional league last year. And so it's going to be interesting. But Amen Thompson went to the Rockets, and then Ashur Thompson went to the Pistons. So I think for the Rockets, They just need all the help they can get at this moment. Very young team. But they did bring in Ime Udoka to coach the team. So he has a very, good background as far as coaching. Not only was under Pop for years, but then took the Celtics to the championship. There's his first year coaching. And so he has a very, pretty good resume. So I believe he'll have a culture that can really get those players going, where he can use, Jalen Green, Jabari. He'll be good. Of course, Amen Thompson. We'll just see what happens in Houston. It just hasn't, been the same since Harden left. But so those are the top 5 picks. Now I have a couple picks that I thought were very interesting. The one pick was the 20th pick to the Rockets. This is another person that will help them out. Is Cam Whitmore out of Villanova. Cam Whitmore is his body. He's NBA ready, athletic, plays good defense, gets on the boards, picks up trash buckets. He's a very good player. So I think down on the post, whether it be off the bench or whatever it might be, I think he definitely has the potential to help the Rockets out in some aspect. But I think he went lower than I really thought that he was going to. So that was a steal, I believe, for the Rockets was to get Cam Whitmore. And then the other steal, which I thought was huge, and, to my Nuggets, was guard Julian Strawther out of Gonzaga. Now, I did watch Gonzaga play a couple times this year. One of the games I did see, Julian Strawther actually did have a 40-point game. And so he can shoot the ball. He can score. His game in some aspects kind of reminds me of Jordan Poole a little bit. And so I think that that's going to be great for the Nuggets off the bench. I'm praying that they re-sign Bruce Brown, but if you have Bruce Brown, you have Christian Brown, and then you bring in Julian Strawther, who can score the ball. I think that's going to be huge for Denver coming off that bench, because if you looked in the playoffs, Denver's bench the scoring mainly came from Bruce Brown, or even Jeff Green might chip in a little bit. And then, of course, Christian Brown had a good game in Game 3 of the finals, having 15 points. So I think that was a very good pickup for Denver, a major steal that I think a lot of people might sleep on. But I think that he's going to really come in and show himself approved as far as his skills, as far as his shooting ability. And I think he fits very well with what Denver's doing. And so, yeah, that's the draft coverage that I have so far. Of course, if you didn't see it, you can go back and look, go on NBA.com. You can see all the different picks and what happened with that. But those are the steals. So now we're going to just transition a little bit, and we're going to talk about the trades that happened. Okay, so one of the trades that happened were Chris Paul was traded to the Washington Wizards for Bradley Beal. And so Bradley Beal now joins Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. Now, on paper, that looks and sounds very good. You have two great scorers off the wings between Devin Booker and Bradley Beal. I do believe one of those, unless they insert Cameron Payne or get a point guard, one of them is going to have to play the point. Now, that's good that it helps out. I mean, scoring-wise, it definitely helps out. Definitely helps out KD. We're still trying to figure out what's going to happen with Ayton. But the problem with that, to me, is Phoenix still doesn't have a bench. And so, as you saw in the playoffs against Denver, Phoenix relied about 70 to 80 points on Devin Booker and Kevin Durant, especially when Chris Paul went down. And so Ayton had a few good games, but then still wasn't as much of an X factor as he should have been. But on paper, it looks good. It sounds good. But Phoenix is going to have to up their bench or trust more in their bench. And with Frank Vogel now being the coach there, we'll see what plans he has for that. But that's an interesting move. It's just one of those things. We'll see what happens when it happens, but not too sure yet. But Phoenix definitely did get better with adding Bradley Beal offensively. And so we'll see how that goes. And so also, what else do I have here? the Wizards have been very busy this offseason, okay? And so the Wizards also traded Kristaps Porzingis to the Boston Celtics for Danilo Gallinari and Mike Muscala, okay? So, again, on paper, that looks very well. That looks very good. It looks, you have Jaylen Brown, you have Jason Tatum, and you have Kristaps Porzingis, who now gives you not only length, but he also gives you perimeter and post scoring. Porzingis has been up and down. There's been moments like when he was in New York. I mean, he was that guy. Porzingis was that guy. Now, when he got to Dallas, he was on and off. Him and Luka should have definitely done more damage than what they did. I know Porzingis has kind of been ailed by injuries a little bit, but he definitely could have done more, I believe, in Dallas. I thought that was set up for them to do better. But then he gets to Washington, and, you have Bradley Beal, Kristaps Porzingis, Kyle Kuzma. Still nothing really worked. And so I believe Kristaps going to the Celtics this year is going to prove how valuable he really is. And so I think this is a big year for him. On paper, it does look good. But with that, Boston also traded away their defensive player of the year, Marcus Smart, to the Grizzlies. And so Marcus Smart is going to definitely add a lot to the Grizzlies. I really believe that. He's going to add that defensive presence. He's going to add everything that you need as far as what they like to say, grit and grind in Memphis. But that's definitely going to help, especially with Ja Morant being out for the first 25 games of the season. So it's going to be interesting with that. I do believe that was a good pickup for Memphis, though. The other trade, so Chris Paul got traded to the Wizards, but then he then left the Wizards and got traded to the Golden State Warriors for Jordan Poole, okay? So let's just talk about this for a second. You're like, okay, you have Chris Paul and you have Stephen Curry. How is this going to work? The only way this is going to work, there's two options, but the only way I think this is going to work is if CP3 comes off the bench. I believe if he comes off the bench, then you do have that young core in Kuminga, Moody, DiVincenzo. You have that young core that Chris Paul could kind of orchestrate and guide and put them in the right positions in the right place. But this also all depends on one player, and we'll talk about him in the free agency thing. That also depends on Draymond Green and what he decides to do, but we'll talk about that here shortly. But yeah, I think the only way that's going to work is if Chris Paul comes off the bench. I mean, you could sometimes throughout the games maybe run Chris at the 1, maybe have Steph at the 2 coming off the ball. But we all know that Steph is a more dangerous player when he has the ball in his hands. And so, interesting. It's an interesting trade, but that's another one. We'll see. We'll see what happens with that. And then, again, Jordan Poole was traded to the Wizards. Now, I do believe it's going to give Jordan Poole a lot more freedom to do what he wants to do. I believe Kyle Kuzma is a free agent this year, so we'll see what he does too. But granted that Kyle Kuzma stays in Washington, I think that's going to be a nice little 1-2 combo, a young 1-2 combo between Kuzma and Jordan Poole. My only reservations with Jordan Poole is his attitude, and he's going to have to bring himself down a little bit. I think a lot of the way he acted last year had a lot to do with the Warriors' success. There were a couple clips where, Draymond was trying to explain some things to him, and he just kind of brushed him off, and it was kind of like that throughout the whole entire year. Stephen Curry would come over and talk to him, and it just seemed like Jordan Poole was just not in sync with the team, not in sync with what the Warriors were trying to do. And so hopefully he had an ego check moving forward from Golden State, because the thing about this is you can have the game, but if you don't check yourself at the door, no matter what you have will always come with you. So we just hopefully that he can check his attitude at the door, he can become a better player, and that he has more of a chance now. So show what you got. You don't have to live in nobody's shadow no more. You're in the perfect position to be who you want to be. Granted that you go into it with the right attitude. So But we'll see what happens with that with Jordan Poole. And so now I wrote down some very notable free agents that we have right now as I'm wrapping up. So let me get the book. Okay. All right. I have Draymond Green. I have Kyrie Irving. Okay. James Harden. Okay. Fred VanVleet. Chris Middleton is also a free agent this year. Jeremy Grant is a free agent. Brook Lopez, Bruce Brown, Russell Westbrook, and Seth Curry. Okay. So I'm going to go down these ones, and these are just the ones I picked. There's a much more longer list of free agents that are on here, but these are the ones I picked for a specific reason, and I'll also talk about where I think they fit best. So Draymond Green, stay in Golden State. I would be very surprised if Draymond left Golden State. I believe that's just where he fits. He, again, when he's not yelling and screaming and stomping on people, I do believe that Draymond really is the heart of that team and is what keeps that team together. So I believe Draymond Green should stay in Golden State. Not too sure. We'll see. You just never know what can happen today. But I believe Draymond Green should definitely stay in Golden State. Now, Kyrie Irving, I don't know where Kyrie should go. At this point, it's like you've seen so many different projects and stuff when it comes to Kyrie. So I really don't know. I feel like maybe if he stays in Dallas, that's something that they can work on between him and Luka, even though it did not work at all when he was traded. So I think chemistry and just trying to figure out what's going to happen with that. On paper, it looks like it's good in Dallas, but right now, I mean, I don't know. A lot of people are talking about LA. They think LA would work for him. You know, we joined LeBron, AD. The Lakers need a point guard, so I just don't want to see that because I don't like the Lakers that much. But at the end of the day, we'll see. We'll see. James Harden. This was frustrating, okay? When James Harden opted out of his player option with the 76ers, I was upset with how James Harden handled it. Okay, so James Harden comes out and says he wants to play for a team that contends. He wants to be more of himself, and that's what he wants to do. This is why I was upset with that. I feel like in Philly, he could play exactly like how he played. He just didn't. Okay, so we saw in the playoffs when Embiid was hurt, came out and had a 40-point game. We're like, okay, James can come back now. Okay, right? We thought. Next game, they get blown out. Okay, game 3, I believe him and Embiid had like 40-point games or close to that. So I had another 40-point game. But my thing was this: James has never the opportunity. I mean, outside of Tyrese Maxey and maybe Tobias Harris on a good day, like bro, like who else is scoring? And you're having these mediocre games, and so I don't see why he said that, why he felt like he couldn't be himself, because I think everybody, including the team and the coach, were waiting for James Harden to be James Harden. And so we understand, age comes into play, but still, bro, like if you're still that guy, like you had all rights to do that as well as on a contending team. So I didn't really understand that part. He was on a contending team, a team that was up 3-2 on the Boston Celtics to move forward, to go to the Eastern Conference Finals, right? So I just didn't understand that. Everything that he said it just didn't make sense. You're on a contending team, and you could have been who you wanted to be, and maybe I'm wrong. I don't know everything, but I'm just saying, I feel like you were in the perfect position, and you had Embiid. You had the league MVP this year. And so, I mean, you have help. It's not like you don't have help. But I didn't understand that. So, because at this point, you can't just be James Harden again and just go to a contending team and just be the man. At this point, you're going to have to take a back seat or go alongside some superstars. So, I think for me, personally, I think James Harden needs to stay in Philly. I think that's his best opportunity, his best bet. And if he wants to be himself and be a contender, I think that's where he needs to go. Chris Middleton, I think he stays in Milwaukee, I think that's the best fit for him. Jeremy Grant, I think staying in Portland would be good, better for him too. I think he's, has a chance to really be better and have more responsibility on offense because Jeremy Grant is a definitely good offensive player. He has offensive talent, but also a very good defender, long, lanky defender. So I think he should stay in Portland. Brook Lopez, I think he should stay in Milwaukee. Bruce Brown opted out of his $6.8 million contract for Denver. And so Denver needs to pay him. I'm just straight up saying that because somebody else will. And so Denver needs to go ahead and pay him because Bruce Brown proved to be the very piece that Denver needed, not only throughout the season, but throughout the playoffs as well. So Denver needs to keep Bruce Brown and they need to pay the man, okay? Are y'all listening? Pay Bruce. Pay Brucey! Okay? So I think Bruce Brown, the best place for him is Denver. Russell Westbrook. So another one of those players you just don't know. Thought he had a very good season with the Wizards the year he was there. The thing in LA did not work. The Clippers. It's really hard to judge that because the whole team wasn't there. So we don't know what that looked like when Paul George, Kawhi, and Russell Westbrook were playing. Now, in the playoffs, Russell Westbrook and Kawhi definitely did well together. For the most part, Russell played very well in that first round against the Suns. But we just haven't seen that whole thing work together for a long period of time. So, to be honest with you, I don't know where a good fit for Russell would be. It's another one where you've tried so many different things and it just hasn't come out the way you thought it should. But I think, if the Clippers all stay together, that I think probably the Clippers are where he should stay. And then the other one I have, as I wrap this up, is Seth Curry. Seth Curry is a free agent this year. And honestly, this might be a stretch. But honestly, I think the best place for Seth Curry to go would be the Denver Nuggets. And I know y'all are just like, oh, he's biased because he's a Nuggets fan. Listen to me when I say this. I think Seth Curry would be an amazing fit for the Nuggets. I have always said that the Nuggets need a shooter, not just, somebody who can shoot the three, but they need a shooter. And so I honestly think that would be a great pickup. Now, will Denver pull that trigger? I don't know. Maybe not. But I think that would be a great pickup for the Nuggets. I really do. And so, but if Seth does not go to the Nuggets, maybe he'll stay in Brooklyn. He's had this thing with Dallas, so we'll see if he ends up back up in Dallas. But I really do think that the place for Seth, and I'll give a couple more options too. I think the Nuggets would be a good place for him. I know he was in Philly. He played very well in Philly. I think Philly would be a good place for him as well. I think he needs to get out of Brooklyn because it just hasn't worked out there. Maybe, look, I even think the Heat, that would be a good pickup for Seth Curry, or a good place for Seth Curry to go. And so, I mean, we'll see. I don't know if I talked about Fred VanVleet as much, but also him, he definitely, I don't see him going back to Toronto. And as much as I don't want to say this, I think the best fit for him would be the Lakers. I really do think that would be the best fit because he's a true point guard, can score the ball, very smart, intelligent point guard, has a good handle on the game. And so I think the Lakers, because they do need a point guard, I think that would be the best fit for Fred VanVleet, depending on, what he's trying to do. Is he trying to go out and get his numbers? Is he trying to go out and win a championship? He already has one, but it just depends on what he's trying to do. So, but yes, that is what I have so far with the draft recap, the trades that have happened so far, and then the free agency. I will be around more often just to, keep an eye on what is going on. If any more trades come up, I will talk about it, If major trades come up, I won't be on here doing like a whole 20-minute video, but it will be more of like a short. And so we'll talk about that. I'll give my opinion on it. But for now, that's what we have. And when something else happens, we will be back on here. But my name is Aslan Williams. I got the stats, the facts, and all that. This is Spell Basketball. Peace.